This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Films and Fermentation. We hope you enjoyed our previous episode on the best villains of the 80s, our tournament bracket. If you missed that episode, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Tonight we're doing something a little different. In honor of his induction into the Disney Legends, we are looking at the career of director James Cameron, known for some of the biggest blockbusters of all time. This is episode 162, The Career of Legend James Cameron. Once again, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. We're also a Good Pod's top recommended podcast for the week. Ooh. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three recommended friends who like to talk shit about recommended movies while getting shit-faced on recommended beverages.
That we recommend.
In this episode, we dive into movies like James Cameron dives into the Mariana Trench, fearlessly and with a budget bigger than most countries' GDP. Today, we're talking about the man who made us. What's that?
We don't have a budget like that.
No, I'm talking about James Cameron's budget.
Oh.
His gross domestic product is higher than, like, think Cameroon or something like that. Today, we're talking about the man who made us believe in blue aliens, unstoppable cyborgs, and that a floating door is big enough for two people. From the depths of the ocean to the far reaches of Pandora, Cameron's career is as epic as his love for breaking box office records. So grab your popcorn and a drink strong enough to survive the T-800, because we're about to explore the cinematic universe of a director who never settles for anything less than Titanic success.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I got a little 45-second video clip later of all the theme songs from some of his movies.
Nice.
Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsoffermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsoffermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Thank you for all those people this week who have been reaching out to us on the social medias to answer our question about James Cameron. We'll be giving you guys a shout out a little later on in the main segment. Become part of the family, the Films of Fermentation family, by supporting us on Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. We are part of the Deluxe Edition Network at deluxeeditionnetwork.com, The Den. The Denny's are coming up soon. Make sure you vote on the Denny's. Our link will be on our show description. We are up for Podcast of the Year, Podcaster of the Year, and Male Voice of the Year for all three of us. Also, check out the Den's Podcast of the Month for August, the Red Horse Podcast, Horsin Around. Host Joel Sharp and producer Jared Picone lead the boys from the Red Horse Hair Studio, Shane, Cisco, Sean, and Guapo, through their nonsensical banter from the cutting room floor and deliver it in a hilarious, no-holds-barred podcast. From conspiracy theories and monsters to ghosts and surreal true life, your squishy brain will be filled with a lot of awesomeness. That's the Horsing Around, the Red Horse Podcast on the Den. Gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening?
Alcohol.
So I actually have a themed drink.
Oh.
I will show you. Who is the deep dive about tonight?
James Cameron.
So I am drinking James with
Jameson.
Ooh, bad joke.
Bad joke. But it's what I needed. I brought the bottle. I may lose the ice, but I brought the bottle.
You need something something strong after all
I
those
do.
milky boobies. Mike, what are you drinking?
Well, I am drinking out of my WrestleMania glass, like someone's T-shirt who's wearing on the other.
Yeah, it's the T-shirt I'm wearing right now.
I'm
Did you buy
drinking.
that at the stadium when we were there?
No, Adrian got it
Okay.
for me on the website.
I was gonna say I don't remember you buying it.
No, I am drinking an Old Smoky whiskey sour,
Nice.
which is Old Smoky blended whiskey, lemon juice, and simple syrup, with a Old Smoky cherry for garnish.
So I tried to go theme tonight and it didn't work out well. So I found a drink called the Titanic Iceberg, and when you make it, it looks like the blue water with like the iceberg sticking out of it because you use the crushed ice. I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool to do tonight. So I said, let me try it before I come on the show, just in case I don't like it. I didn't like it. It was so bitter. It was two drinks that you can mix together that I've never thought to mix together, and I know why now. It was blended Irish whiskey, blue curacao, and lemon juice. Now, by itself with the lemon juice, either one of those are fine. I've never thought to mix whiskey and blue curacao together.
No.
It comes out a very dark bluish color that looks like the water, and with the ice sticking out of it, it does kind of look at the iceberg. And I drank it, and I'm like, God damn, that was the bitterest drink I've ever had. Like it was, I couldn't drink it all night. So I dumped it and just went simple. So I am drinking Woodford Reserve Kentucky Straight Malt Whiskey.
Nice.
Which is a very smooth malt whiskey.
I was looking for that in my liquor cabinet. I think all of my relatives polished it off during one of my family affairs.
I think you were the one who gave me that.
I think
somebody gave me that. I didn't buy that myself. I don't know who gave me that. You know, it might have been Mike. I don't even know.
No, wouldn't have been me.
No, I think that was me.
Maybe it was you. I don't know. Somebody gave me that one. It definitely wasn't something I bought myself, but it's really good, and that's what I'm drinking tonight.
The bottles of liquor you get from me are from obscure distillery.
Or from like Old Smoky.
Yes.
What's anything special happened this week, Mike?
This week in film history. Actually, this week was very light. Most of the things that were going on was the some movie fest. I forget which one it was. But we'll start with the first one. No. 1942, Walt Disney's animated movie Bambi released, based on a book by Felix Salten.
What are your views on Bambi?
Was that the beginning of like killing in animated movies? Killing woodland creatures?
Yeah, it was probably not the earliest mother character to be wiped out in a Disney film, because I think that would have happened in Snow White earlier than that.
Right, but it was never shown. This was the whole.
This was the hunter wiping out shooting Bambi.
Yeah, you just see Bambi go over, and you hear the fire, the gunfire, and then you see the snow splatter with blood, and then
I'm looking forward to the ruined childhood universe version of Bambi: The Reckoning. Actually, my favorite version of Bambi is the cartoon where Bambi meets Godzilla. What's the next one you got there, Mike?
1946, The Big Sleep, directed by Howard Hawks, is starring Humphrey Bogart as Philip Marlowe, and Lauren Bacall premieres.
So last week you had a fact about an Oscar-winning film from like the 30s or 40s or something like that, and you said you were surprised I had never seen it.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I'm not, prior to 1960, I'm not up to date on all my movies, because that's pretty long time ago. But I was like, all right, challenge accepted. So I started watching older films to try to get myself up to date. So I'm looking at this one now, and I'm like, Humphrey Bogart. I think I'm going to have to put this one on the slate and see if I can find it.
Oh, Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. It's got to be something.
And Howard Hawks. It should be a really good movie. Talking about really good movies.
In 1986, Stand By Me, film based on a novella by Stephen King, directed by Rob Reiner, starring Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell, is released.
I think I watch Stand By Me at least once a year.
Oh, at least.
At least once a year. I love Stand By Me. Oh, okay. Next
Kevin's movie's next.
Yeah.
1987, Dirty Dancing, film directed by Emily Donorlino.
That's it. You got it, man. You got that director's name down pat.
I'm
Emil Ardolino.
Sounded the same in my head.
Sound the same. Yeah, I'm Italian. It sounded perfect to me.
I'm with you, Mike.
Jennifer Grey opens in the U.S. Hey,
nobody puts baby in the corner or Mike.
Hey, I'm Southern. It's Amelia. Emil.
Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. And your last one there is a good one.
Yes. Now part of the MCU.
Yeah.
1998 Marvel superhero film Blade, starring Wesley Snipes, is released.
Ain't no other Blades but me.
No other Blades but me. I don't like you. You never did. So Ryan Reynolds had said that he really, really wanted to include Wesley Snipes in the film because he feels that if it wasn't for Blade, we might not have the MCU as we know it today, because it was like the first successful Marvel film, even though it wasn't part of what is now considered the MCU. And it's funny because like the one that he was in, Ryan Reynolds, Blade Trinity, is a terrible movie. And it was at the point where like Wesley Snipes was fucking losing his mind.
Is that the one that Triple H was in?
Yeah. It's a bad movie. And it's funny, the most unrealistic part of that film, despite the vampires and the weapons that they create and that they're fighting Dracula and the vampire dog, the most unbelievable part of that film is the scene where Patton Oswalt crosses over a black guy that's 3 feet taller than him while playing basketball. We have a must-try a beer at Craft That Station this evening.
I do. In the state of Nevada, we have Brasserie St. James, located in historic Crystal Springs Ice and Water Building in Midtown Reno. St. James is a restaurant and brewery serving old world European comfort food, American classic fare, and top-notch old and new world lagers and ales. They use mineral-rich spring water from the Sierra Mountains, drawn from the brewery's own Horsin Lake, located 280 feet below the building. Samples of the award-winning beer at the tap room or purchase packages to where to go. Fun fact, the brewery keeps more than 100 empty wine barrels for maturing beer. Looks like we're going to Nevada, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we were already going to Nevada because I think we were going to do was like the beer festival or something that Kevin had talked about in Beer News a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but now we got to go to Reno.
Fun fact, the temperature hasn't been below 100 degrees in Nevada all summer long. So,
fun fact.
So we'll go in December,
finally dropped below 100 degrees. So last week it was nice because Kevin had posted on here his Beer News already, and I didn't have to ask about it, but it's already back to the way it was before. Because Kev, I forgot to ask you, do you have Beer News tonight?
I was going to tell you, but it already started the show. It said he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
I was well prepared. Actually, I was so prepared. I took one of the stories from last week and held on to it till this week. So I only have. I know
because it was the follow up to the space beer, wasn't it?
That's right.
Okay, so let me play your theme song and then we'll get into it.
Go for it.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. It's not. Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.
Kevin has returned with part 2 of Beers in space.
On this episode of Beer in Space, 11-year-old's tiny brewery will fly to space station. All right. In a couple of months, the astronauts on the International Space Station will help make a cosmic brew, courtesy of a 6th grader from Colorado. Way to go, kid. Glad to see the school systems working in Colorado. 11-year-old.
You were the first to legalize marijuana.
Yeah. And we're still waiting on Quaker Rage from you, Kev.
Maybe you should recruit this 11-year-old kid to help you make Quaker Rage in space.
I'm hiring you, kid. I like that. I like your moxie. I like what you got.
You got gumption, kid.
You got gumption. I like the cut of your jib. 11-year-old Michael Bodzianowski. There we go. Microbrewery experiment designed to test the effects of making beer in space has won a trip to the space station thanks to the National Center for Earth and Space Science Education Student Spaceflight Experiment Program, otherwise called as SSEP. I feel like I'm really hot here. Hold on. There we go. Lower that shit down. Bodzianowski's experiment, which he developed at STEM School of Academy in Highland Ranch, Colorado, is slated to fly to space aboard the Orbital Sciences robotic Cygnus spacecraft, expected to launch in December. The tiny brewery is set up inside a 6-inch long, 15 centimeters for those outside of the United States, tube filled with separated hops, water, yeast, and malted barley, all of the key ingredients used to make beer, and will be delivered to this station by a commercial firm, Nanoracks. An astronaut aboard the station will shake up the mixture to see how the yeast interacts with the other ingredients in space. I really didn't expect this from the start, Bodzianowski told KDVR, a Fox affiliate in Denver. I really just designed my experiment to get a good grade in my class. That's exactly why we do it. That's why we do what we do. From two educators here, that's what we're looking for.
Proud to be a teacher. And I'm a STEM teacher. I have an idea this year now.
It might sound like a somewhat frivolous experiment, but Bodzianowski has some good reasons for wanting to investigate the way beer can be made in space. In case of an emergency in space, alcohol is a cheap way to purify water, so figuring out a good way to make beer in space could be practical. Let's say it's a long-duration space flight and the water supply is contaminated, said Jeff Goldstein, Center Director of the National Center for Earth and Space Science Education and founder of the SSEP. There's no way to refresh that water by simply going back to Earth and getting some more. If we can create a fermentation process, that's our word of the day, ladies and gentlemen, fermentation. If we can create a fermentation process and water supply, that would create some level of alcohol content that could sterilize the water supply. Goldenstein continued, there was a real logic behind what he, meaning Bodzianowski, was saying from the standpoint of scientific investigation proposed.
I'm thinking we need to do like the Pee-wee's Playhouse thing, like our secret word is fermentation. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I could talk my principal into this project or not, but I mean, she's a big bourbon fan, so maybe I could talk her into let me distill bourbon in the
there you go
the STEM lab.
The Student Spaceflight Experiments program was created to give students a taste of what it's like to be a scientist. Students in communities around the United States carefully craft proposals for the kinds of experiments they want to see fly into space. 3 projects from each community are chosen during the first step of the review, and the review board of spaceflight scientists, educators, and engineers pick the final experiments that will fly into space. I think that's one of the reasons why there's so much interest in the project, is that it's cool to think about, wow, let's make beer in space, Goldstein told Space.com. Absolutely, Mr. Goldstein.
Especially when you're a middle school student.
Other experiments selected to fly with Bodzianowski's microbrewery looked into the developmental effects of microgravity on the spotted salamander, how microgravity changes calcium absorption in bones, crystal formations on the station, and 7 other selected experiments. The SSEP just put out a call for new experiments to fly to the International Space Station for the program's 6th mission. Learn more about the opportunity on the SSEP's website, and interested community should inquire about the program on or before the 31st of October. This is the second beer-related space news in a matter of weeks. A Delaware brewery has crafted a special beer using moon dust. The traditional Oktoberfest beer called Celeste Jewel Ale is created using lunar meteorites ground into dust.
Where do they get the authentic?
And that is next week's beer.
I want to know where they get it, because usually the United States has all the rocks that came back are.
Hey, look, NASA's hurting for money. NASA's hurting for money, so if they got to shave some dust off of some moon rocks, they're going to shave some dust off of some moon rocks.
I can't wait to see that project proposed by those kindergartners in the Midwest about the effects of zero-G gravity on uncut cocaine. Oh boy, that was beer news is good news.
About time it had some good news.
That was interesting. We'll be right back after this short word from Coffee Brothers.
I love a good beer, but right now I could use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh yeah, they're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass-produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a 2-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. 2 brothers, 1 mission to caffeinate the world. And right now you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. Thank you for sticking with us after that short word from Coffee Brothers. We're moving on to our main segment tonight. Our main segment is looking at the career of director James Cameron. We decided to do this, 1, because we like to do a director deep dive every now and then, and 2, because this year he was inducted as a Disney legend, since many of his films are now owned by the Disney Corporation, and they have the Avatar land now in Disney World and all that stuff. So he's a Disney legend this year. We are looking strictly at his directing career. He has over 60 credits as a writer. He actually has a few acting credits, producing credits, and all. So to streamline this, we are only looking at films that he himself directed directly. We're going to look at a little bit of his bio, some trivia, and some innovations that he's involved in, because he's really, really a major force in the realm of technology, especially with movie technology and deep sea exploration technology. So talk a little bit about that too. And then at the end of it all, I'm going to throw out some shout outs to the people online who answered my question about what their favorite James Cameron film is. So
a lot of people don't know this, but he is an honorary blue whale.
I'll talk about that a little bit, because I actually watched one of his documentaries a little while ago just to kind of prep for this. I'm going to play a real quick clip. If you're watching us on YouTube, enjoy this. If you're listening to us on audio format, this is a quick little 45-second video of directing credits by James Cameron, but it's all like his major films. So you will probably recognize some of the theme songs playing in the background here. I need to work on the audio for that video a little bit. It's low.
Little bit.
Little bit. So I'm gonna open up my document here and do a little quick bio on James Cameron. James Francis Cameron was born on August 16th, 1954 in Kapuskasing, Ontario, Canada. He moved to the U.S. in 71. Son of an engineer, he majored in physics at California State University before switching to English and eventually dropping out. He then drove a truck to support his screenwriting ambition. He landed his first professional job as an art director, a miniature set builder, and process projection supervisor on Roger Corman's Battle Beyond the Stars in 1980, and had his first experience as a director with a 2-week stint on Piranha 2, The Spawning, in 1982, before being fired. He then wrote and directed Terminator. Wait, that's a major 180, man. You get fired from Piranha 2, and then your next film is a writing and directing credit for The Terminator in 1984.
Yeah.
Futuristic action thriller starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Biehn, and Linda Hamilton. It was a low-budget independent film, but Cameron's superb dynamic direction made it a surprise mainstream success, and it's now regarded as one of the most iconic pictures of the 1980s. After this came a string of successful, bigger-budget sci-fi action films such as Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, etc. In 1990, Cameron formed his own production company called Lightstorm Entertainment. In 97, he wrote and directed Titanic, a romance epic about two young lovers from different social classes who meet on board the famous ship. The movie went on. What's that?
They couldn't fit on a door. They couldn't fit on a door
together. Nope. The movie went on to break all box office records and earn 11 Academy Awards. It became the highest grossing movie of all time until 12 years later, when Avatar, which he directed as well, and invented and pioneered 3D film technology, beat the Titanic and became the first film to make $2 billion until 2019, when Marvel took over that record. So here's some interesting trivia about the man. He was married 5 times.
Wow.
The first time, if it doesn't work out, I'm like, okay. And then you get married again. Fine. After the second time works out, you're pushing it with that third time. After the third time, dude, give up. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, if you really want to impress somebody, marry someone, divorce them, years later marry that again. Same person again, and then
divorce them again.
Years again, divorce them.
You're not talking about Ben Affleck and J-Lo, are you?
What?
What? I can't believe that didn't work out. His first wife, Sharon Williams. Surprise. He was married to Sharon Williams from 78 to 84. They got divorced. Then he married film producer Gail Ann Hurd in 85. They got divorced in 89. Then he married director Catherine Bigelow in 89 and divorced her in 91. Then he married star of Terminator and Terminator 2, Linda Hamilton, in 97, and then divorced her in 99. And then married Susie Amos, who's also an actress, in 2000, and is still with her. So that's his longest marriage so far.
That one might work out.
Yeah, she met him on Titanic. She was young granddaughter of Rose.
Yeah. So he married one producer, one director, 2 actresses, and a civilian.
And
it was his experience watching Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope in the theater in 1977 that inspired him to quit his job as a truck driver and try to get into the film industry. A magazine article written about him in the 80s described how he had 3 desks set up in his house. At one desk, he was writing the script of Terminator. On another, he was finishing the script for Rambo First Blood Part 2. And on the third desk, he was writing Aliens. That's a multitasker.
Mm-hmm.
On the 14th March 2004 episode of Inside the Actor Studio, Kate Winslet claimed that her nude portrait, painted by Leonardo DiCaprio in the film Titanic, was actually being drawn by Cameron. Boy, talk about clout as a director. She also said that the artist's hand shown in close-ups was also Cameron's. This is a fact that I find really interesting because I'm a I have a passing fascination with like the deep ocean and the marine life that lives down there and everything. So Cameron became one of only, I think it's 3 people who have reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. On the 25th of March, 2012, he was the first person to do it in a one-man craft. That takes balls.
Yep.
To go that deep into the ocean by yourself. The Mariana Trench is the deepest known point on Earth at 6.8 miles below the ocean surface. The vehicle in which he achieved the feat is called the Deep Sea Challenger. It was designed and built in Sydney, Australia. Cameron is the first person to spend significant time at that depth, having explored the area for 3 hours after his arrival. He later famously commented that hitting rock bottom never felt so good.
Something tells me he didn't have a GameCube controller
No.
as the operating device for his submersible.
So here's a little interesting side note. It's not on the facts that I have here, but he had approached the designers of that submarine that imploded visiting the Titanic. I don't remember what was the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. Was it the Titan or something like that? Or
yeah.
it was a name similar to that, but like he had approached the engineers who built it prior to their launch and said, I've done this before. Would you like me to look it over and let you know if there's any like improvement that could be made or anything that needs to be looked at or whatever? And they turned them down. Like, could you imagine? Like, the guy's been to the Titanic twice and the Mariana Trench, and you don't want his expertise? You know?
I think I'm good. You know,
I think we're good. The
YouTube
GameCube controller.
It should be good.
Yeah.
GameCube
I played Deep Blue on GameCube with the controller. It should pretty much be the same thing.
I mean, I got a Google Droid, but it's a Google Droid 2. Should be fine.
It'll be good. According to Cameron, he got his big break while doing pickup shots for Galaxy of Terror as a second unit director. He was shooting scenes of a dismembered arm teeming with maggots. In order to make them move, he hooked up an AC power cord to the arm, and an unseen assistant would plug it in when the film was rolling. 2 producers were strolling through when Cameron yelled action. The worms began to writhe on cue. When he yelled cut, the worms stopped. The producers were so amazed at his directing prowess that they began talking to him about bigger projects.
You can direct maggots.
This fact drives me crazy because I can't imagine how good this movie could have been if he had directed it instead of Tim Burton. He was interested in directing the remake, The Planet of the Apes.
Oh.
His script was turned down. Tim Burton's script was the script that the studio picked up. Nothing against Tim Burton. I love Tim Burton, but Planet of the Apes was a mess. And
it was a mess. Matt Reeves kind of salvaged it a little bit. I like the Matt Reeves movies. And I know, Mike, you're a diehard for the original, so but the Matt Reeves movies have caught my interest as kind of like a prequel to it.
And it's funny is there is a connection to James Cameron now because James Cameron developed the motion capture technology that they use in the Planet of the Apes films.
Oh, does he? Did he?
So like all the motion capture stuff he invented for Avatar. And then they picked that up for things like the Marvel films and the Planet of the Apes films and the Lord of the Rings. Like all of that came out of like his creation of like the Avatar stop motion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of amazing that they turned him down on the script and for the remake, but ended up using his technology anyway. He has had 6 of his films win the Oscar for Best Visual Effects: Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, Titanic, Avatar, and Avatar: The Way of Water. Following the release of Way of Water, which became the 3rd highest grossing film ever worldwide, 3 of the top 5 grossing films were his: Avatar, Titanic, and the second Avatar. He also is the only director with 3 films that have grossed over $2 billion. He also could have directed Jurassic Park in 1993, but he himself admits that Spielberg was the better choice. He did say in an interview that if he had
it out of himself, you know.
He said if he had directed Jurassic Park, it would have been a lot more violent. Maybe it was better that Spielberg took it over.
Yeah, maybe.
He has some signature things that he uses in all of his movies, such as strong female characters like Ripley in the Aliens franchise, Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise, etc. He frequently casts Michael Biehn, Jeanette Goldstein, Lance Hendrickson, Bill Paxton, and Arnold Schwarzenegger in his films. His films frequently feature scenes in deep blues because he is a big fan of the ocean, so that makes sense. A lot of the plots and events in his movies involve explosions or nuclear war. He brings cameras in close up for fight scenes to achieve a claustrophobic effect. Often works with dreams or characters sleeping into his plots. Utilizes slow motion in intense scenes or to intensify a scene. He often employs composer Brad Fiedel or James Horner to score his films. His films frequently depict children in danger. Many of his films have water or ocean as a central theme or setting, and he often includes the theme of humanity's arrogance and over-reliance of technology into his plots, which is ironic considering how big he is on technology. What you say?
Beware of Skynet.
But it's ironic that he talks about the over-reliance of technology, but he himself is such a technophile for all his movies. So that brings us to his directing credits. If you guys scroll down to the bottom of the document, we can start where his first film was.
There's a document we're supposed to be looking at?
Or, I mean, I could scroll down too. You can even go to IMDb if you don't want to use the document. It's on IMDb. So his first movie is actually a short film he directed in 1978 called Xenogenesis. I would love to find that if I could and see what that's like. I'm imagining it's something to do with like Alien a little bit since it's,
Xeno.
His first actual major directing credit came in 1982 for the horror film Piranha 2: The Spawning, which he came on as a last minute replacement director and then was fired 2 weeks into production anyway. I'm sure he's not too disappointed with that when you consider it has a 3.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Who taught you how to direct piranhas? That's not the way they move. It's like you've never seen a man eating fish before.
And then in a 180 pivot like none other in 1984, he helmed and wrote the script for the sci-fi classic that became a monster hit, the 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb, The Terminator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm looking
I think it's the first film we can stop and analyze a little bit.
I'm looking for Sarah Connor.
Looking for Sarah Connor. I'll be back.
Had I heard somewhere it was between Arnold and O.J. Simpson?
There's a lot of casting rumors for this film. One of them, is that O.J. Simpson was in the talks to possibly play the Terminator, but he was considered too nice.
Yeah, because OJ couldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah, you have to think at the time he was known mostly for like the Hertz commercials and then would later on do like the Naked Gun films. So yeah, he had a reputation for being kind of a nice guy. Who James Cameron actually wanted Lance Hendrickson to play the Terminator, who played
really? He played the cop, the detective.
He was the detective. He was the android in Aliens, with Sigourney Weaver. But it was his thinking with that was he wanted the robot to look as normal as possible. That you would see Lance Hendrickson and you wouldn't think, futuristic killing machine. It's kind of subtle. But the studio wanted somebody who he was kind of like larger than life. And Arnold had just come off of the Conan the Barbarian films, and was sort of like a rising star at the time. So, he consented, and the rest is history. I don't think you can picture the Terminator without Arnold Schwarzenegger. He embodied a robot.
Right.
Anybody with an Austrian accent sounds like a robot. So
I'll be back.
The next film he did in 1986, sequel to Alien, the Ridley Scott film from '79, an 8.4 on IMDb. Aliens.
You have to wonder if the original director from movies where a sequel's brought into it is like, what are you going to do with what I've done? This is definitely a little more action-packed. I don't know if it's quite as scary as the original Aliens, but definitely more action-packed. So,
I think it was actually. Go ahead, Mike.
The original Aliens was more of the suspense scare.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
The original Aliens was darker, was more like atmospheric. You only had the one alien too.
Right.
It was you're on the one ship, you're trapped with it. I remember somebody described it as just it's truckers in space, getting caught on a ship with an alien. I think it was actually the perfect move to make to change it into what he changed it into.
Oh yeah.
You know,
You
the
couldn't
action film,
do
it's
again.
fun. What's that like?
Mhm.
You couldn't do the same type again. It
No,
just wouldn't work.
I don't think it would have worked that way. I think it works better as the action film. It has, you can introduce more of the aliens that way. If it's because they're fighting these marine characters who will last a little bit longer, hopefully. I also like there's a backstory to this where they're sitting in the production room and it's Jim Cameron, some of the producers and the writers and everything, and they're trying to think of a name for the film. And it was originally called Alien 2, but they're like, well, we're introducing more aliens in the film, so maybe we should call it Alien 2, the this or that. Like, so they're all coming up with these different names. James Cameron walked up to the whiteboard, wrote Alien with the S at the end, and then drew 2 lines through it to make it look like a dollar sign. And the producers were like, all right, let's go with it. And so they called them Aliens. and it is, the rest is history. It ended up making more money than the original film made. And the original film is considered a bona fide classic as well.
And I know they have the new Alien. Is it Alien or Aliens? Romulus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it. I heard it's very similar to like the original Alien in that it's, on the ship and it's atmospheric and all that.
And I heard that too. Like it does take place after in between. And I was kind of hoping, I was like, oh, all right. So this is the whole LV-426. What occurred, how they got there, what they did, which I thought would have been good. And then I'm like, oh no, it's not that. They're on a ship or. Okay, I was hoping they Rogue One it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some good reviews about it. I might check it out eventually.
I saw a meme on it. I thought you guys would like. It had a picture of the alien and a picture of a Romulan. It goes, "There's not one Romulan in this damn movie." One of you lied to me.
Yeah, it was the Romulus, the ship they're on, or something.
Yeah, Romulus.
So Aliens, which also has another great quote: "Game over, man. Game over." The great Bill Paxton. The next thing he did in 1988 was a music video called Martini Ranch Reach. I have never heard of this video or this song. I'm looking at the picture and I can't tell because it's so small if that's Bill Paxton. Like, was he in the video or something? Like,
you mean you don't follow Montana Ranch?
Martini Ranch. It's
Martini Ranch. You don't follow
Martini Ranch. Let's see. Music video for Bill Paxton's band Martini Ranch.
You're so square.
I have to find this fucking video. Music video for
he did it as a favor for Bill.
Yeah, so it says music video for Bill Paxton's band Martini Ranch, where an outlaw biker arrives at a rough, small western town to visit his gal in the local brothel. What he doesn't know is that an all-female posse of bounty hunters is coming for him. Oh, I gotta watch this goddamn video. This is my kind of batshit crazy. Wait, I'm looking at the cast. Kathleen Bigelow's in it, his ex-wife and film and Oscar-winning director herself. She plays the posse leader. His brother's in it, Mike Cameron. Jeanette Goldstein, who was in Aliens, is in it. Lance Hendrickson's in the video. God, he really does work with these people all the time. We're going to cue that one up after the show's over. I might have to cut that into the end of the episode. Getting back to his IMDb, after that, in 1989, he directed what's one of my favorite James Cameron films, The Abyss. It only has a 7.5 on IMDb.
I think it's higher. It should deserve a higher score than that. It's a great movie.
I'll tell you what. So, like, the film that was released, there was a lot of like production hell and a lot of like studio interference, and there were a lot of cuts made to try to get it down to like a shorter time frame, and I think that hurt the overall product. There is a director's cut, that has like a half hour of extra footage in it, and it is really worth the time to watch it because it explains a lot of things that were kind of left open in the original theatrical release. You get to learn a little bit more about the society, the alien society at the bottom of the ocean, a little bit more about like why they're down there, a little bit more about Michael Bihn's character and his, desire to like drop this nuclear weapon down into the trench and all that stuff. So it's like really worth the time to watch the director's cut for that. And it is, you could see the early signs of his technical prowess in it with the way that they manipulate the water in the film.
Yeah, is this the one with the water is the alien's like a stream of water and the face shows up in the water?
It's got a tentacle that goes through the underwater rig, and
so the creatures that they meet at the end of the film, who look like these sort of alien like creatures with wings and stuff, can manipulate water, and so that's
right.
There's actually like a whole subplot that gets cut out of the theatrical release where they can control water, these aliens, and they threaten to destroy the West Coast with a tsunami.
Yeah, I think
control.
Yeah, like
unless the humans agree to stop dropping nuclear weapons in the ocean.
Yeah,
it's interesting that like the things that were cut out of the film. The movie that probably launched him into the stratosphere, because this is the film that allowed him to create his own production studio based on the success of it, is 1991's T2 Judgment Day, Terminator 2, starring Schwarzenegger once again, Linda Hamilton, Robert Patrick as the T-1000, Eddie Furlong as John Connor. I saw this in the theater.
Yeah. Not to disparage it, because I thought it was a good movie. I still like the original better.
Oh no, I think the original, when you watch the original, it's like a little dated now, but you also have to think it was technically an independent film. It was a very small budget, and what he did with the budget he had was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
T2 is like, okay, now I have a budget.
Yeah.
Let me show you what I can do with it. And there are some really cool things in it, like the T-1000 is an amazing character.
Oh yeah, it was.
I think T2 flushes out the story a little bit more, like how does Cybertron come to be, or Skynet, and it's like it's the arm that was left from the original, it's the chip, it's all these things, and it kind of it gives it a little more body.
T2 that was.
Yeah, it was the robot that was destroyed in the first movie. They salvaged its arm and the chip from its head.
And the chip,
right? That's how Cyberdyne starts the Skynet program.
That's right.
Yeah, and I also like the change in Linda Hamilton's character in the film. Like she goes from being the damsel in distress to being like the fucking badass that she is in this film.
Yeah,
shows you that the James Cameron likes a tough woman, because that's when he married Linda Hamilton after she got all buff.
Yeah.
But I saw T2 in the theater as a kid, and it was an experience, man. It was first time I ever see something like that on screen. And we talked about this a little bit last episode with the movie villains, that it was kind of like T2 is the film that I think most people think of when they think of Terminator, because most people probably picture Arnold as the robot protector and not as the villain,
right?
Like he was in the original film.
That whole scene where he cuts and removes the flesh from his arm to prove, what he is. It's like, oh my God,
Kevin is easily squeamish.
I'm not a big fan of gore.
The next one, 1994, is it was a pretty big hit, but I feel like it's one that's kind of gotten forgotten over time a little bit. It's True Lies. Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Arnold, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Bill Paxton, where Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a spy. Nothing says
94. I was getting Arnold out.
Also introduced us to Eliza
Dushku plays his daughter in the film.
Mm-hmm. And made Jamie Lee Curtis hot again.
Oh man, she was incredible in that movie.
Yes,
and it's a good movie. Tom Arnold's actually my favorite part of the film. He kind of steals it.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of jokes that are actually like references to his divorce to Roseanne, but kind of like subtly slipped in there. But it's like it's a funny film when you think that the film is about a spy, and the spy is Arnold Schwarzenegger, because nothing says inconspicuous to me
An
than a
Arnold
6'3",
Schwarzenegger.
Austrian man with giant muscles in a tuxedo. He doesn't stick out. This was his response to James Bond. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to do a film that was kind of James Bondish, and always liked working with Cameron, so they did this, and it made a lot of money. And it's actually a pretty entertaining film, and kind of surprising that there was no sequel. When you figure it, like movies that make a lot of money, like this one did, would typically have a sequel. From that, he did T2
I'm going
3D
to tell
Battle
you, I'm
Across
surprised this didn't have a sequel.
T2 3D Battle Across Time.
That's right.
Straight to DVD.
Straight to DVD video.
No, this was a
It's a video game,
attraction. No, this was an attraction at Universal
Oh no, this
Studios.
is the thing at Universal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they had somebody ride in on a motorcycle wearing a leather coat, a shotgun, and a pair of sunglasses, and said, "Come with me if you want to live." And then it was one of these it's a large screen, and everyone's sitting, and it moves back and forth and shakes and blows smoke in your face, and and then you're traveling through time.
I saw it. I saw that at Universal too when I was a kid, and it was really cool. And then the Terminators walk out on stage, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's cool. That should have a sequel. Yeah. In 1997, he directed this little tiny indie flick starring two unknown actors, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
For my
It's
money,
it's not gonna make a penny.
not gonna make a penny. This film, The Titanic.
Hey, spoiler: the ship sinks at the end.
I enjoyed watching the film with like kids in the theater who didn't know what the Titanic was, and that it was a real ship. And when it sinks at the end, and they're like, shocked by it, and I'm like, are you like, crack a fucking book?
What?
How do you not know what the Titanic is? My 10-year-old nephew is Liam is obsessed with the Titanic. Like he could tell you the dimensions of the ship and how many smokestacks it had. Like,
Well, he's just got a thing for Celine Dion.
For Celine Dion, yeah, he's big.
And
big
French women in general, from what I understand.
But yeah, so I took Titanic in the theater. Of course, it's a date movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
college girlfriend.
I think Katie and I had just started dating, so this might have been one of the first movies we saw together. And
I had seen this with a girl I was dating in college, and I know this was the moment. This was the movie to put the arm around the back of her, on the behind, and then it's a 3-hour movie, so the arm is dead by the time.
That's the wrong movie to do that to. You need one of those hour-and-a-half movies.
And if it was like the theater we saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and there was no air conditioning, your arm is sweating. I'm still sweating from that theater. I don't really like this movie. I don't know if that's a controversial thing to say or not, but
What, Titanic?
yeah, I feel like it's kind of like it lost its luster a little bit over the years. It's not as
I think the love story is the thing that just kind of like I'm done with, But the historical accuracy, and there is no gore. Yeah, but
there was room on that fucking door.
Oh, there was room on the door.
And there was no gore.
There was no whore.
Gore, not whore. How many other words can we rhyme with door? Door, whore, gore, whore.
When they hit the floor for the dancing,
there's no shore. They can't swim
anywhere. Definitely didn't want any more.
Yeah, I know. Like most of the people I know who were obsessed with the movie at the time were obsessed with the love story, because everybody was like, everybody was doggy-eyed over Leonardo DiCaprio and all that stuff. I'm not going to deny it was a technical achievement when they do the sinking of the ship.
I think
that's an amazing scene.
Yes.
I think I'm impressed with the production of it. I'm impressed with the production and the historical accuracies taken as the subplot to the actual plot. I
Yeah.
enjoy the subplot more than the actual plot.
Hey.
Yeah, the other 3.5 hours I could do
Don't
without.
forget the acting prowess of Billy Zane. Okay.
I never denied
I'm
the
a
acting prowess of
child.
Billy Zane. I never denied the acting prowess of Billy Zane. That's why I still stick up for the Phantom. Moving on, then he took a little bit of a break, a couple of years, because he was at the time developing some of his other technologies, both in the film industry and in the marine biology arena. He does a TV film called Earthship.tv in 2001. I don't really know much about that. He then develops the series Dark Angel with Jessica Alba.
Jessica Alba.
He actually directed one episode of the show, but was listed as a producer for the program. I think it ran for like 4 seasons or something like that. It was fairly popular.
That's the one where they had the barcode on the back of their neck, right?
Yeah. No, was that one? Was that Dark Angel, or was that? Because there was another show with Eliza Dushku that was kind of similar to that, to Dark Angel.
I think that was Dolls or
Dollhouse or something like that.
Dollhouse.
That might be what we're thinking of. I don't know. I haven't watched Dark Angel in a really long time. Then in 2002, he directed a film in which he made his first expedition into the deep sea, where they went exploring the sunken ship, the Bismarck. This was a TV production. In 2003, he directed his first trip to the Titanic in a ship that he developed with, some other engineers himself, in a film called Ghosts of the Abyss. I've watched this. This is a really good documentary. They essentially discover areas of the Titanic that nobody had seen since it sank. Like, it was a pretty fascinating documentary to watch. In 2005, I actually just watched this one this week, Aliens of the Deep. In this film, he connects with NASA scientists and astrobiologists, and they go on expeditions into the deepest parts of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, looking for strange, never seen before life forms. And the astrobiologists are studying these life forms as a way of understanding what type of alien life they might come across at some point in the future. Another really pretty fascinating documentary. And then in 2009, a little film called Avatar comes out, breaking all previous box office records. A movie about blue people.
Smurfs.
Blue
Smurfs
aliens.
movie.
They're much taller than Smurfs.
Tall Smurfs sticking their penis hairs in everybody's holes.
It's their asshole hairs because it's coming off the cliff.
I saw this in the theater in 3D, and because he had developed the 3D technology that was used in this film, and it was, when I first watched it in the theater, I was like, "Wow, this is an amazing movie," and it was mostly because of the visuals. It was a crazy film to watch, especially in 3D. And then I rewatched it again on TV, months later, and I was like, this film is basically Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
It's Dances with Wolves, it's Last of the Mohicans, it's Pocahontas, it's whatever white savior story you want to insert here. It's basically the same thing. Not to knock the technical prowess of this film, but it's mostly about the
story.
It was
story was okay.
The funniest thing about this film is it was nominated for Best Picture and Best Director at the Oscars, and everybody swore it was going to win because it was such a box office success and such an achievement and everything. Not only did it lose Best Picture to The Hurt Locker that year, he lost Best Director to his ex-wife, Catherine Bigelow, who directed The Hurt Locker.
Oh, that had to hurt.
Yeah, a lot of people looked at it as sort of like a Hollywood, like, F you.
That had to hurt Locker.
Yeah. Then he did a TV movie in 2016 called Turok: The First Flight. Or is this not a? Is this TV movie? I thought this was like something at Disney. First
It
Flight.
could be. I haven't been to Disney since 2001, so
There's two rides in Avatar. One is a flight simulator.
I think that's what this is based on the photos I'm looking at. It looks like doesn't look like a genuine movie. It looks either like a stage production or it could be an amusement ride.
So when he released Avatar, he had stated that there would be probably 5 films in the franchise. It only took him 13 years to release the second film in 2022, Avatar: The Way of Water.
That's because he got Disney money to do it.
He was busy developing things. And that was the last theatrical release that he's directed. He is currently in development on a film called The Informationist. He also has Avatar 3, 4, and 5 in post-production. 3 is called Avatar Fire and Ash. That is in post-production, slated to be released in 2025. Avatar 4 is in post-production, slated for release in 2029. And Avatar 5 is in pre-production, slated to be released in 2031. Like that is ambitious right there. And that right there is the directing filmography for James Cameron. I have here at the bottom of my document here some of the things that he innovated, because as I said, he's very big into technological end of things as he was as much as he was a director. He invented a number of filming tools and techniques such as head rigs for performance captures, digital stages called volume stages, virtual cams, fusion cams, all of which have made a significant contribution to the immersive experience of the audience. The head rigs capture actors' facial cues. It was first used on Avatar. It's now become standard in most effects-driven films such as the MCU movies and the Planet of the Apes franchise. The volume stage is used for a larger, more encompassing LED volume rig set up on a sound stage. They use this on The Mandalorian. It's where they were on a sound stage and they had blue screens set up on the side, but they could see like what the effects would look like to give the actors like a point of reference. Virtual cameras make it possible for a human camera operator to move and turn a physical camera on a display screen as if it were a regular camera. The camera operator can intuitively and rapidly create the desired camera view or movement. Fusion camera, it was developed as a way to shoot features in stereoscopic 3D, which is a form of depth perception that was not previously capable in 3D film. And he created the Deep Sea Challenger, which was the ship that he used to explore the Mariana Trench. That's a significant resume right there. And he's won Oscars and all the he's a technological master. We have some movie lines here on our thing here. The I'll Be Back from Terminator, I'm the King of the World from Titanic, Hasta la Vista Baby from Terminator 2, and Game Over Man, Game Over from Aliens. Some just iconic quotes from his films. So I have a few shout outs here to make before we end things tonight. I asked on some of the different social sites this week, what's your favorite James Cameron film? Asking for a friend. Let's see, we have here Real Bad Takes on Reddit. It gave us True Lies as his favorite film. DS Speaker 1 on Reddit said T2 all day. Opus Clips on Reddit. I'm sorry, not Opus Clips. 10TRB said Terminator faux show. Playtrix on Reddit said Aliens is his favorite film. Michelle T at Phantom Beast 82 on X said The Abyss Special Edition. I heartily agree with that one. The Titanic, Avatar, and Terminator 2 are some of his best. Vampire on Reddit says The Abyss. And the gratitude. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading the gratitude bot's response to me. What a wonderful comment. You're now on the Reddit gratitude list.
Thank you, Reddit.
Thank you, Reddit. Drama Audio on Reddit says, I love a lot of his films, but True Lies was really the only film of its kind in his repertoire that really showed a totally different side to his directing, especially when it comes to action comedies. For supporting roles from Bill Paxton and Tom Arnold, this movie is just as entertaining on so many levels at once, and totally an unexpected but pleasant break from the usual seriousness of his other films. I agree with that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. That was a different turn for him.
Yeah, and that's a very good analysis from Drama Audio on Reddit.
Yeah.
Shifting Tones Podcast sent me a GIF of the moving water face from Abyss. So I'm guessing they're saying The Abyss is their favorite film. Stellar Future Radio at SFR_OC on X says has to be Terminator 2. And Just a Man 75 on Threads said Strange Days. It wasn't directed by James Cameron. It was written by him, but it was directed by his ex-wife, Catherine Bigelow. So that was
nobody picked Piranha 2.
Nobody picked Piranha 2, I know, or Galaxy of the whatever it was that he worked on with Roger Corman.
Right.
Nobody picked the music video with Bill Paxton. That I think I'm gonna attach to the end of this episode.
Nice.
Mike, you have any beer trivia or history for us this week?
I got some beer history. Ancient Egyptian workers may have received beer as payment for their labors, as the intoxicant was highly prized. Construction of the Great Pyramids between 2550 and 2490 BCE, some scholars speculate, could have been the result of beer. They got drunk and built the fucking pyramids, is what they think.
I hate to call you out on this, Mike. You gave us those fact like a few episodes ago.
Did I?
That's an old one. Yeah.
Oy vey.
That's okay.
So nice. We heard it twice.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't remember what episode it was. So anybody who's listening, you might just have to go back and listen to all our other episodes just to figure out which one it is.
And you'll win a secret prize.
Our cinema quote of the week. Our cinema quote of the week is from James Cameron himself. I figure we talked about the man. Why shouldn't we have his quote on there? So,
Sure
you
is.
want to give us that quote?
People call me a perfectionist, but I'm not. I'm a rightist. I'll do something until it's right, and then I'll move on to the next thing. From James Cameron.
That's
Isn't that racist against lefties?
No, I was going to say it's a little semantic right there because that pretty much he's saying he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight for episode 162, a look at the new Disney legend, the career of James Cameron. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can send us an email at filmsfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com to find all of our social media and podcast links. We will give you shout outs on the show if you send us responses or comments or whatever on our socials. So make sure you let us know what you think about the episode. If you have any drink ideas, make sure you download the episode or like, subscribe, follow us, whatever you might feel like doing. We appreciate your support in any sense anyway. You can find out more about us at the Den, the Deluxe Edition Network, at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Support us on Patreon or buy our merchandise at teespring.com. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next time around for episode 163. Episode 163 is going to be about great actors, but terrible movies. We'll let you think about that one yourselves before we give you our opinion on that. In the meantime, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
This has been the Films and Fermentation Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.